What would you do if your boss ordered you to do something that you knew, for a fact, was wrong and could jeopardize your work? In today's story, the protagonist's choice is a masterclass in how to handle it, and the fallout was more satisfying than I could have ever imagined. I'm what you might call a professional attorney wrangler at a big legal firm. If you've ever watched the show Suits, picture Donna, but wound even tighter than a child's music box. As a legal admin, my job is to keep a massive amount of information straight. Every single county in every state has its own court system, its own rules, its own little quirks, and I have to know them all. I support a team of 5 attorneys, which is a pretty solid number. It's not like on TV where every lawyer gets their own personal secretary. The story really starts because of the global pandemic. An admin who left back in early 2020 was never replaced, so I'd been temporarily assigned to one of her partners. Let's call him Bingley. It was actually a great learning opportunity for me. He worked in a totally different type of law and region than my usual team. Plus, he had a case where a truck literally exploded, which was awesome. But there was one huge problem in this otherwise perfect job. My manager, Lady Catherine, as one commenter on my story later perfectly put it, I chose that Pride and Prejudice name for a reason. She was a woman who believed her position made her infallible. She played favorites. Her favorite word was no. And she had to be involved in everything because she was just that important. We clashed constantly, mostly because I'm a stubborn know-it-all who had been proven right one too many times for her liking. Her management style was actively toxic. She once forbade me from using the same resources as other admins, including getting backup help when my workload was crushing, and then had the audacity to deny my overtime requests. There were literally days I had no way to do my job. It's worth noting that the whole reason Bingley needed a temporary admin, me, was because his last one had quit specifically because of Lady Catherine. In fact, over the course of a single year, 4 other admins had also quit explicitly because of her. Now, fast forward to November 2020, I'd been working with Bingley for almost a year and we had a great routine down. I was comfortable filing pleadings in a different state without needing to triple-check everything. See, in the legal world, which still operates in the Stone Ages sometimes, a few states require hard copy filings. You have to mail physical paper copies for a judge to read. It's a pain, but Bingley's cases were almost all in one of these states. One day, Lady Catherine, in her excessive wisdom, butted in uninvited. She instructed me that I had to include a cover letter with a new filing I was mailing. This immediately set off alarm bells. I had been doing these exact filings for a year, and nobody, not even the admin who trained me, had ever mentioned a cover letter. I pointed this out to her, and she basically told me to suck it up and do it her way. At that moment, Lady Catherine made a fatal error. She was so focused on asserting her authority that she was completely unaware this single, petty instruction would trigger her own spectacular downfall. I wasn't about to risk a case on her say-so. I called the court administrator directly. When I asked her about the cover letter, she literally laughed and said, "Please, do not ever send us a cover letter." So, I followed the court's official instructions. I didn't send one. Imagine my surprise when I was called into her office and written up for insubordination. She knew what the court said. She knew the judge didn't want it. But she insisted she was right because she is always right. And I was, and I quote, a disrespectful little shit, and she was tired of me. A formal warning went into my employee file, with disciplinary measures pending. The very next day, she emailed my entire team, telling them to reduce the scores on my yearly review because she knew my abilities weren't what they were rated at. It was clear she was building a fake paper trail to get me fired. Well, if she was so tired of me, I could grant her wish. I could leave. The problem was, I fucking loved my team. They were the best I'd ever worked with. We genuinely respected and cared for each other, something rare for admins who often get pushed around. Within a week, I found a new job, and I called in to quit. I cried so hard that one of the partners, Bennett, asked if a counteroffer would change my mind. I told him no, because money wouldn't solve the actual problem. He asked what I meant, so I told him everything. About the write-up for following the court's rules. About her trying to falsify my performance review after it was already submitted. I told him that she was the real reason 5 other admins had left in the past year. By the time I was done, I had given myself hiccups from weeping. Just then, my main partner, Gardner, called Bennett, frantic, asking if he was the reason I was leaving. I thought that was the end of it. It wasn't. A friend of mine, Charlotte, who was a manager in another office, called me asking what in the world I was doing. She said she didn't have time to train a new me and that I was the only admin she trusted in my office. So I told her the whole story, and she told Gardner, and together, they plotted. This is where the real revenge begins. And as one commenter noted, I was mainly the catalyst, but my friend Charlotte was the one who truly executed it. Charlotte, being on equal footing with Lady Catherine, called their district manager. She told him that Lady Catherine was driving away good employees and that losing me, specifically, was a serious blow because I was the only one who knew how to handle certain critical tasks for my team. Meanwhile, Gardner called another partner and, with a flair for the dramatic, said his world would collapse if I left and he'd go jump off the nearest bridge, a funny image in our landlocked state. He said they had to do something. The very next day, Bennett called with a counteroffer I couldn't refuse. I would no longer report to Lady Catherine. Instead, I would report directly to Gardner, my partner. Lady Catherine would be explicitly forbidden from interfering with my work without Gardner's permission. It solved the entire problem. I got to stay with my team, and I happily accepted, but the debacle was not over. Unbeknownst to me, Bennett had taken my story seriously. He reviewed exit interviews, emails, and memos, and the evidence was overwhelming. It turned out I was absolutely correct. Lady Catherine's toxic behavior was the explicit reason that a total of 6 admins, including me, had quit in less than a year. She was put on a formal performance improvement plan and received no end-of-year bonus or raise. A few weeks ago, Charlotte called me with the final update. My new role meant I had no contact with Lady Catherine, so I hadn't seen that her behavior had actually gotten worse with the admins still under her control. She had missed every single benchmark on her performance plan. Lady Catherine had been officially stripped of all her management duties. She was demoted to a mere paralegal, no longer anyone's manager at all. All she had to do was nothing. If she had just left me alone and not interfered where she wasn't needed, she'd still have her job. It's a perfect example of what one person commented later. There's a rule in the legal world that is carved in stone: you do not mess with Donna. This story shows that you can't build a career on ego and toxicity. True power comes from competence and the respect you earn from your team. She learned that lesson the hard way. What do you think is the most important boundary to set in a professional environment? Share your thoughts in the comments.